Russia has announced it has tested two new super weapons, a nuclear-powered, nuclear-armed autonomous underwater vehicle and a ground-launched nuclear-powered cruise missile. Now, on the 26th of October, Russian President Vladimir Putin confirmed the successful long-range test of the Burevestnik, a nuclear-powered cruise missile. Putin called this missile an invisible weapon with nearly unlimited range and an unpredictable low-altitude flight path. Now, on the 29th of October, Putin announced that the Russian Federation had successfully tested the Status 6 or Poseidon nuclear-armed unmanned underwater vehicle or UUV. Now, these are some of the most significant new nuclear weapon systems fielded since the end of the Cold War more than 3 decades ago. But why is Russia testing these new super weapons? Why are they fielding these new advanced cruise missiles and ultra long-range torpedoes like the Poseidon? First, let's try and understand what these two systems are all about. Now, the Poseidon is a 20-meter long torpedo that weighs about 100 tons. It has a top speed of over 100 kilometers per hour, and it carries a 100 megaton thermonuclear bomb. It's fired by a special purpose nuclear submarine, and this torpedo travels over a kilometer under the water and explodes near the coastal cities of its adversaries, causing a massive tsunami, inundating population centers, annihilating them in fact. The Burevestnik is a missile powered by a miniature nuclear reactor. It is a subsonic missile. It flies close to the Earth at an altitude of 100 meters. Now, Russian officials say that the missile was tested to a range of, believe it or not, 14,000 kilometers, where it flew for 15 hours on nuclear power alone. Now, this is similar to a Project Pluto nuclear-powered cruise missile that the Americans tested back in the 50s during the Cold War, but they subsequently abandoned it. Russia seems to have proceeded to develop such systems. Now, Putin has publicly revealed the existence of these weapons before. He spoke about them in 2018. They were part of 6 new weapons that he announced to the world. And he framed all of these weapons, these new weapon developments, as a response to the United States missile defense developments and the fact that NATO was expanding eastwards. Now, both the Burevestnik and the Poseidon are weapons armed with nuclear warheads. They're, in fact, nuclear-powered weapons that are armed with nuclear warheads. Now, nuclear weapons, as we all know, are political weapons. They are not weapons of war fighting. And both of these weapons, these two new super weapons, have their origin in geopolitics. In 1972, the US and the USSR signed an anti-ballistic treaty prohibiting both sides from building or fielding nationwide anti-ballistic missile systems. It was called the ABM Treaty. Now, this treaty was to ensure, believe it or not, mutually assured destruction and to stabilize nuclear deterrence between the USSR and the United States. Now, the US withdrew from the ABM Treaty in 2002, just 20 years later. Now, this withdrawal by the United States has been frequently cited by Putin as a reason for developing these new super weapons. Now, recent developments have accelerated Russian fears. Now, in 2025, President Trump has announced the building of a new Golden Dome missile defense shield to protect the continental United States from enemy ICBMs. And very recently, Trump has authorized the United States military to resume testing of nuclear weapons, something it hasn't done for more than 3 decades. Now, with these new platforms, Putin is now signaling to the United States that it has a range of options with which to target the US and its allies. Now, options which do not have any countermeasures, options that could even bypass such protective measures like the Golden Dome that the United States is putting into place. The world is heading into unpredictable waters once again several decades after the end of the Cold War.